Okay, I did it again. Apparently making videos is pretty hard. I don't know how long it's been, 4 months maybe since the last one, and I keep promising every single time that yes, I'll do more videos and I'll do more painting, and the reality is I have not done that. There's been many reasons for it, life, I've had things to do, time, the usual excuses, but the main one is Warhammer is great and I like it and I like the idea of it. It is really kind of hard to explain. I do like the whole painting side, otherwise I wouldn't have invested in all this shit behind me. But I've only painted like one squad of boys and I've half painted another squad from the combat patrol, and I feel a bit daunted by the rest of the project of the combat patrol. I've got vehicles to build and I've not really done that because I think maybe I'm not good enough to do it, and these are expensive models. So I've been kind of twiddling my thumbs and sort of dragging my heels when it comes to painting Warhammer, and that's annoying because that's a tongue twister. I have the Leviathan. I have the Leviathan. There you go. I have the Leviathan box set right there. You can see it. And I also, you can see this behind me. I also have some Snagger boys that I need to paint up. The problem is, my motivation for painting them is whenever I want to do them. I don't have anyone to play this game with. Even when I was in my teens and I enjoyed painting models and stuff and I got the weekly things, it was just something to do. And despite enjoying it, I had no one to play with. And it's the same now. None of my close friend group that lives near me actually play Warhammer. However, what I have been playing recently is Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I did a one-shot, a year ago. And I kind of didn't get into it at the time. It was quite difficult for me. I felt a bit overwhelmed by the whole role play, pretending to be someone else and figuring out. I did a one shot, and I had a character, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy's sort of rogue. He stabs things, gets in and out, and he's very swashbuckly. And I called him Hans YOLO, which was I still think is a great name. However, when he took damage, he didn't have a lot of hit points, and I got scared and ran away. And maybe that was good for his character, I don't know, but I feel like I could have roleplayed it a bit better now that I'm looking back at it. But at the time, yeah, it took me a bit to get into. I didn't quite understand it, didn't quite get the mechanics. However, my best friend decided that he wanted to DM a small little module campaign with just a small people at his house, and thought that it's probably a good idea to get me involved in that, because I did kind of enjoy what I did the first time around. I just didn't really understand the mechanics and how to play. And we've been playing that since, I don't know, July, October? Around about that time now. We're 6-7 months in. We can't play every week. We play every 2 weeks, and sometimes we have to skip 1 or 2 sessions. So yeah, we're playing, I believe, the Mines of Phandalin, and I've really been enjoying it. It's an excuse to have minis and play something on the tabletop and role play and just have fun with a group of friends, more so maybe than Warhammer would, because it's normally a one-on-one battle. And it's motivated me to get more into mini painting than Warhammer has and all that lot. So it's kind of weird, but then again you think how, because you have to you can't really just go and buy D&D minis. I mean, you can, but they seem quite expensive. So I did the stupid thing maybe, and I bought a resin printer. So it took me a while to actually just pull the trigger on buying this resin printer. Money is kind of difficult for me right now. I'm still trying to go through stuff with work. My mortgage is doubling in 3 months, and it terrifies me because I have to pay off some other debt that I have before that happens. So wish me luck with that. However, I still need to spend money on myself to enjoy life and whatever and stuff. So before I bought this resin printer, I bought a model from Hero Forge. So I bought my little D&D dude, or I made him. He's a little fairy druid and he's quite fun. And I printed him off on the FDM printer that I own, which is an X1 Carbon. And I know what you're thinking, the reason why Index you bought that, and you're not entirely wrong. I did have plans for it, but whatever. We'll get into that later. Basically 3D printing is a hobby. I like it a lot, and it goes hand in hand with D&D pretty much, because a lot of the things I am printing now are D&D related. I've printed terrain and a lot of characters and minis, and I printed my initial fairy druid on the FDM, and it didn't turn out too bad. So I thought I'll print a couple wild shapes that I need. So I printed a dire wolf, that turned out quite well. Printed a giant frog, turned out pretty good. Tried to print a giant spider, and it just kept failing. Like on the legs, the legs were too thin. Even though it was a, large creature, it couldn't quite print off the spider without failing. It would fail on a leg, and then the rest would just fall down from there. And we were playing with these tokens instead, and I thought, you know what? It would be really cool if I could just print off like the models that I think we're going to fight next week. And the real thing that gave it a trigger for me was I found a bunch of free zombie models, which was awesome. So we had just started a fight with a necromancer of Thay. I bounced off his tent because apparently it had a force field on it, and I just went right up to it and was like, I'm gonna listen into that tent, and I flew like 100 feet and nearly died. But we started that encounter, and there were about 12 zombies and a necromancer in this, and then we decided to call it there for the day. It was like 9-10 o'clock. We had to sort of end the session. So I took a picture of the battle map, and I thought, I could print zombies for this. And I tried to get one on the FDM, again, didn't quite work out. And just, for the last couple of weeks, the resin printers had been looming over my head, like, you should get these are good for minis. You need more minis in your D&D campaigns. Like, it's good, you can actually print and you can paint them, and there's all these things that you can do. And for weeks I was like, no, I can't, because if I buy this, then it's essentially another £400 that I have to make up in order to put towards the debt that I already have. However, you only live once. I didn't think the printer I wanted was unreasonable, so I sort of pulled the trigger on a Elegoo Mars 3 Pro. It was about £180 from Amazon. I also chucked in the wash and cure, that was about £80. And then you have to get all the other stuff. So the resin, £20 for the resin. Got some gloves for like a £5, and all in all, it wasn't a terrible investment in terms of money. Like, I've spent more on other things. Again, the Carbon X1 was about $1,200, maybe $1,100 when I bought it, and honestly, that's been well worth it. I fucking love that thing. It's done me so many useful things in the house, and it's transformed to the hobby of 3D printing for me. Before I had a Anycubic Mega S. It was good. However, all of the things really that I printed from that printer was upgrades for the printer. It was just difficult to print things. Like the bed, I would level it and then it wouldn't be level, and then you can only print, level the corners, and then the middle had a dip in it, and I was like, how do I level this? What the fuck? So I sold that to a friend who likes to tinker with things, because I wanted 3D printing to be about the printing and not about the printer. So again, that's why I bought the X1 Carbon, and I've printed many things, and it's gotten me through many gifts and birthdays and stuff, even though I've only had it since, again, like June, July. So, back to the story. Had these zombies, this counter, I pulled the trigger and I just printed off zombie after zombie. Like, I just did a whole plate of zombies, and then it gave me an excuse, like, now I've printed these zombies, I have to paint them. And it was just a revelation of, like, I'm not painting Warhammer, but I'm painting minis, and I've got a reason to paint them up, because we have a session every 2 weeks, so I print them off, I cure them and do all that stuff, and then I get them ready for the next encounter, and I like that. It's like I've got a deadline, and I'm being productive, and it's just genuinely, I've got a reason to paint. Now, I'm not doing a great job at painting, I'm going to be honest. I have all of the nice paints, all the Citadel stuff, to my right, and on the left, you probably see I've got a bunch of speed paints. And those are what I'm mostly using, because again, I'm trying to be really quick and get these out, and they don't need to be super detailed, because again, the Mars 3 Pro is really good, but it's not like the most detail. Like, it's missing a few bits. I've seen other people get better quality, but I don't know how to use it that well yet. But it's really sparked my passion for mini painting a bit more, even though I'm using speed paints just to get a quick result. Like, that's like the ignition for me. So I'm hoping that I can paint bigger things and put more effort into stuff. And you might also see on the left down there, and I'll probably put some B-roll up of him later, but I also subscribed to DM Stash, who had this amazing observer model that I printed off, and I printed one for my friend and one failed, and I gave that to another friend, and I printed one off for myself. So coming up, there will be a painting video on painting that observer model, because it is big and it is awesome, and I just cannot wait to see it finished. But for now, I have a bunch of little goblins to paint up, because the encounter, admittedly, I've already painted them up because this encounter happened like a week ago. However, I need to paint up some goblins for an encounter. Should I just talk in the past? Whatever. I needed to paint up some goblins for the encounter that is happening, or happened, because we're about to assault Cragmore Castle, and Cragmore Castle has a bunch of goblins in it. So again, I printed off 10 goblins, and I printed off also 3 awesome, cool-looking goblins that come with the DM stash pack. And I said, oh, they're hobgoblins or whatever. So yeah, printed those off. Looks like a dream, and I just went through the motions with the speed paints, slopping them on, and it was just really fun. And it also gave me a chance to test out the speed paints. So I actually tried to use these speed paints, or speed paints 2.0 from Army Painter. I tried to use them on one of my orcs, and I didn't quite like the shading and how it had turned out. Like, it was fine, but yeah, like, I decided to strip that off, and it pretty much ruined the model, to be fair, when I stripped it off, because I didn't know how to strip paint off a model. But essentially, I didn't like how the speed paints looked on a Warhammer mini. However, they look pretty decent on a free Goblin mini that I've got, so I just used the speed paints. Again, I'm just trying to get these out the door quickly because there's a lot to paint. So I used, you'll be able to see it in the footage actually, I used like orc skin with a bunch of other speed paints to just try and get the general look down. Again, they didn't need to be super detailed. These are low hit point like mobs that I took out 3 in one Thunderwave, so I was pretty happy with that almighty push. Oh, it was so good. Oh, it was a fun encounter, and it's not done yet. But really, like, the end result was just fantastic, and I've got a lot more things that I need to paint up now. So I think I have some more Bugbear Captains to print off. I've got a bunch of wild shapes that I need to print, and I also use Conjure animals now, so I have to now make a bunch of animals that I want to conjure, and it's just now this awesome cycle of productivity and fun that I've got into, where I can paint the minis that I make myself because I need them for the game that I'm playing. Whereas Warhammer, it's very much I feel like painting today. Just check that I'm still recording. But I feel like painting today because it's more therapeutic thing. And yes, I do that, but also my therapy can be music, but it can also be playing video games, or it could be, I need to exercise instead. So I've been really slow dragging my heels on painting Warhammer, and I will get around to doing that. But for now, I think there's going to be a lot more content on painting and making Dungeons and Dragons minis, because I fucking love it. It's great. So that's where I've been, that's what's happened, and I will really, really, really try to make more videos in the future on this, because, yeah, I've found more passion and fun in this than Warhammer, unfortunately, but that's I don't know if it's unfortunately. I like both, I just like this more. So yeah, let's explore this together, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.